Hey there, this is your pal Pally, and welcome back to Git Er Raid. Melee. This is a fight that makes your day. You'll be so happy to see this perfectly patchwork fight where you can bash out your buttons and do nothing. Not. Dark Shaman is a fight with a whole bunch of messes on the ground for everyone to not stand in, melee most of all. The fight is a 2 tank and 2 to 3 heal encounter on 10 man and involves 2 bosses with a shared health pool. This fight changed in a number of ways from the original PTR, much of it for the better, so my descriptions will be different from many of the abilities here from my PTR guide. The first thing to note about this fight is that the initial pull is tricky. The bosses and their mounts are inside Garrosh's throne room, and it's impossible to fight them in that small of a space. You'll need to have the tanks pull and run out of the room, or have a hunter misdirect the bosses out of there. Fortunately, once you get out of there, the entire landscape of Valley of Strength is at your disposal, provided you killed all the trash in the area. After wiping once, the bosses will appear just outside the door to the stronghold, so you don't have to jack with the tricky pull. Your first goal in the encounter is to kill off the mounts of the bosses. They hit the tanks fairly hard and have low health, so it just makes sense to get rid of them quickly. Watch the bleeds on the tanks and keep them up while DPS blasts those doggies down. And now to the bosses themselves. As I mentioned, they share a health pool, so it doesn't matter which one you are DPSing. The big part of this encounter is that at 85, 65, and 50%, the bosses drop totems that grant them additional abilities for the rest of the encounter. I'll go through what each of these totems does for each boss, but for now, just realize you'll be spending the majority of this fight dealing with all of it up until the end. The bosses also have a small enrage at 25%, where they cast Bloodlust on themselves and get down to killing you. It would make sense to pop your own Bloodlust here to get done quickly, but maybe you'd rather do it on the pull to get rid of the dogs quickly. So let's talk totems and then talk bosses. The first totem dropped is the Poison Mist totem. It comes at 85% and will give Harum the Toxic Mist ability and Kardris Toxic Storm. Toxic Mist is simply a nasty dot that does increasing nature damage every 3 seconds for 30 seconds. It also increases the amount of nature damage you take up to 100%. Toxic Storm is a cloud that spawns near the boss and will periodically send tornadoes out that roam around the world. Obviously, both the cloud and tornadoes are to be avoided. Foul Stream totem is dropped when the bosses reach 65%. This grants Harum the Foul Stream ability, and Kardris gets Foul Geyser. Foul Stream is basically a line of poison between the boss and the person he targets. You'll know who he targets by the big glowy green pillar of light placed on the raid member. Just don't stand in between the boss and that lit up person, and you are fine. Foul Geyser will spawn adds called Foul Slimes. These should probably be kited and AoE down by ranged. Each one pulses with 100k nature damage every second, so they likely can't be straight up tanked, and melee will have a rough go of messing with these guys as well. Lastly, the Ash Flare totem is laid down at 50% and grants Harum the Ashen Wall spell and Kardris Falling Ash. Ashen Wall is pretty easy to deal with. It's just a line of stationary, untargetable adds that will smack anyone who gets near them. Once again, don't stand near the crap and you are fine. Falling Ash is a big AoE that Kardris casts that has a huge red ground effect. Don't stand in it. There isn't too much else to this fight other than the boss's main attacks. Harum's main attack is Darkstorm Strike that hits the tank with nature damage and increases their nature damage taken by 100% for a minute. This indicates a tank swap, so just keep swapping as each tank's debuffs fall off. I believe 3 is the magic number. Kardris does Darkstorm Bolt that hits pretty hard, 600k. So what's the strategy look like? Well, we tried a few things, and really it comes down to controlling the mechanics well enough and continuing to move around the area. Between the Foul Streams, the Ashen Walls, and Toxic Storms, your space becomes limited quickly. We generally tried to keep the bosses near each other to facilitate quick tank swaps, as well as allowing multi-dot classes to do their thing. The biggest thing that throws off positioning will be the slime adds. Range will have to kite these away and blow them up, and they come so often. Do your best and keep your range into your healers. We lusted on the pull so that we could get in the most DPS with all CDs up and kill off the doggies quickly. As you can see from the end here, space is at a premium, and people just die to ads and not looking where they are stepping. In general, because of the ads, you will probably want to stick any melee foolish enough to not sit themselves for this fight on Harem. This puts range on Cardric, and they also get full-time ad duty. Don't let up, and keep going. Much of what you need for a successful kill basically revolves around raid positioning and just plain not standing in stuff. Thanks for watching, and please comment, like, and or subscribe to the video if you found it helpful, and have a good one!